to be honest, like we don't know even like how well or how intelligent is like spending budgets. What's the kind of traffic or leads they're bringing in? It's still like a black box. If we ask ChatGPT to audit our campaigns on Google Ads, and what would be like a great action plan, it will tell you a lot of things that we cannot physically even do because of industry regulations and constraints. If we're not clear on the messaging that we want to put out there, we're basically throwing money out of the window.
So Alejandra, to kick things off, I just have a quick question for you. Money is no object. You can do anything in the world. What is your profession? What would you love to do?
Gosh, I feel like I've been asked this question like once a year, and every time I answer these differently. But I gotta say, like, I'll be like a sommelier, like just going around and trying wine and traveling for free.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. But for now, you are the team lead of paid media. Tell us a little bit about what paid media means.
So paid media is online advertising efforts to drive traffic and leads, in our case, through different channels such as Google search pay-per-click ads or Google display, YouTube, Meta ads, which is Instagram, Facebook, and now Threads. And we've also done Microsoft advertising and LinkedIn, probably to come.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like there's a little bit of like, hey, this is coming. That's awesome. Very cool. So before we dive into kind of what's changed, let's talk about what's current. So you mentioned Meta ads, you talked about Google ads, YouTube, different things like that. Let's dive into what those optimizations look like. What does your team do on the day-to-day basis to make sure that the client is getting the most level of move-ins or getting their brand out the way that they need to?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So when we are optimizing campaigns, we're basically doing audits every single month. And based on those results, we put together an action plan. Sometimes an action plan can be a quarterly thing, but there's definitely like tweaks and assessments that you have to do every month just to understand if we're heading in the right direction. So by audits, I mean, we look at the performance at the highest level. How many leads are we bringing in? Are these a cost per lead that makes sense for our client's business? Where are the leads coming from? So that way we get enough intel to understand how to tweak our campaigns, how to maximize our budgets. But sometimes there is also some intel that we can share with our SEO team or social media team, or even just with the client, because you're basically not only buying that traffic and those leads, you're also buying that data. So with that data, we can uncover a lot of information that might be very relevant to our clients.
I love that. So you're basically using the geographic areas that your organization is targeting, your search key phrases and so forth and so on, giving that data off to the other departments to ensure that whatever strategies they're building is based on the proper data that you're getting.
Absolutely. For example, there are gonna be a lot of queries when people are searching for a specific community, but they want to see their reviews, they want to see their photos, they want to see, they want to read testimonials. We don't really want to target those so heavily with our keywords because cost per click might go a little bit up, but we know that our SEO team can do something about it. So bringing that information back into our team and optimizing our communities or our websites to have that information available for users online, it's a great way to put it.
I love that. So paid media is basically the foundation of a marketing strategy. I should say the website's the foundation, but the paid media stuff is kind of the guide of what marketing strategy should exist in the digital space. So how is paid media changing? Like what's coming down the pike?
So much. Paid media is not isolated for everything that's going on in the world. So one of the biggest things, like all these era of automation and AI, that's definitely changing the way we do things. One example is how faster we can do some like certain things in our campaigns without really compromising quality or not falling into errors. And it's also like a lot of things where you just give one command and that command can like easily implement things at scale. So that's what we're mostly working on. So when it comes to budget checks and things like that are very important and sensitive to our clients, we have like better ways to do those checks and better ways to adjust them without really having to spend a whole day just doing budget checks.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. So tell me a little bit about like how sophisticated is ChatGPT or LLMs and different avenues like that. Like, are there ways that it can still get better? Are there things that you anticipate coming?
I believe that they're not perfect, but I do know that all these investments and all these conversations, they're making these platforms or these models to learn exponentially faster and better about us, about every single user online. That probably by the time that they tweaked everything, it's gonna be, as I said, it's gonna be a game changer because it will probably not be the center of advertising, but it's gonna be a big piece of it. So just the way like digital kind of like was the revolution back then, it became like the center of attention, but there's still like a lot of different strategies and different channels that you can use to advertise and build your brands, that it's not only 100% concentrated in digital. So it might be more, it might become more accessible with time and once they're ready for the rollout. But as of now, like not, I haven't seen, we cannot see those ads because we're in Canada, but our friends in the US, I've been asking them to work on certain prompts, knowing which advertisers are like already spending on ChatGPT ads, and nothing has come up yet. So stay tuned. Yeah.
So can I clarify, are you saying that that there are ads on like ChatGPT on the LLMs?
Good question. So right now, ChatGPT is testing ads in the US. So they're in the beta version of it, which beta stands for like testing. So that way they can implement that and work on their rollout. So what we know right now about ChatGPT ads is that they only tapped on the shoulder and only pitched these ads to bigger spenders and bigger advertisers. Since the media spend was it was a massive investment. And what I can tell from that is like they definitely need more investment coming in to like keep developing these advertising model because it's definitely gonna change the game. It's gonna change the way we do things. It's gonna change the way we even like shop for things. Like it's reality. Another thing that we know about ChatGPT ads is that they were mostly they were mostly basing all these media spend on impressions and the fact that you were in the conversation at all. So what that means is there's probably little to no visibility to clicks because maybe the user who is prompting ChatGPT is having a whole conversation about it. And then at the very end, there's an ad that it's shown. And probably they will consider this advertiser to finish their search on Google, but there were no clicks that actually happened on ChatGPT. But you were part of that conversation. You were considered. And even though they claim that their advertisers or whoever is spending on ads on ChatGPT is not going to influence the conversation, chances are that
Oh
they're,
yeah, like ChatGPT or OpenAI or whichever organization it is. Like, yes, they're monetizing their programs by saying we have a monthly recurring revenue model, but at the end of the day, if they can monetize it from another avenue, they're going to take advantage of that. Like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And probably if you watch this video, I don't know, 6 months, 6 weeks from now, like a lot of things might have changed by then. But right now, this is what we know about it. It's very interesting. It's part of like not fighting anymore for clicks. It's basically like fighting to be found, to be the answer, to be valuable and like relevant for that conversation, which is really interesting. What does that gonna look like? We're not sure right now, but it's something to keep in mind.
I feel like we should almost date these videos intentionally. Hey, it's February 23rd, 2026. So this could change in 5 minutes. Well, so you mentioned that it's not perfect. Can you give us an example of where you've seen it maybe not be perfect?
I love this because I recently discovered this. Apparently, it's a TikTok sensation. So I basically prompted ChatGPT with if I want to wash my car and the car wash is 50 meters from my place, do you think should I drive there or should I walk to the car wash? And it's crazy how ChatGPT will give you all these arguments and based on data and things that they know about you already. But the bottom line, like the ultimate answer was you should walk to the car wash. How am I going to wash my car if I'm walking there, not taking my car there? Which tells you a lot about it. It tells you that it's great to scrap that data and it's
Yeah.
still awesome to give you a lot of like compelling arguments, but probably you should still be auditing the outcome or the final answer.
Yeah.
And it lacks of common sense
Yeah.
still. So probably they'll figure that out like eventually, but for now it's very important that every single strategist is still auditing whatever they get out of ChatGPT and kind of like challenge ChatGPT. Sometimes they will give you answers that they're still not strong enough. Like the argument is not strong enough to like make a decision. It's great at pattern recognition, for example.
Right.
But then you are the one who is putting that strategy together. You're the one who understand the nuances. Like another example is if we ask ChatGPT to audit our campaigns on Google Ads and what would be like a great action plan, it will tell you a lot of things that we cannot physically even do because of industry regulations and constraints. Even though you add that to the prompt, like this, we work on the senior living space, like this is what we're running ads for.
Right.
It will still bring it up because this is what it's being said over and over again on the internet, that this is the way to go if you have a campaign that is lacking performance, for example, or you want to enhance their performance. So it's interesting how there are a lot of really good articles on the internet right now where does AI do so well in PPC, or where does it fail? And it's very interesting how just like prompting is not like a good skill of like on itself. You still need that technical expertise and that industry expertise. You are the one who understands the nuances, the context, even your client brand better.
So I saw a stat a couple months ago where it said something along the lines of Google received $2.7 billion in Google ad spend in 2025. So the question I have for you on that is, how is Google going to maintain that level of revenue? Because they're definitely not going to sacrifice it. In order to, or how are they going to maintain it while investing into AI in their platforms? Or is there a solution that exists there? Is it the same as ChatGPT?
So right now, Google is also doing AI Max, which is showing up for all these AI overviews. And basically, if they know like your ad or like what you're pushing with your advertising is relevant for that query, they want to bring it up. So you really need to give the right input to the algorithm to make it like to make it work and bring those leads in. If you just like spend that money and let the algorithm do anything, what it can bring back is just like, I brought you all these impressions and all these clicks, but when you see the query that it's been like it's triggering this ad, it's not.
Kind of like the old days.
I think
Remember the old days where you're younger than I am, but the when PPC ads first came to Google, and you could basically have an ad show up for whatever you wanted. Some of those websites, you're looking for a plumber in Calgary as an example, and that website that pops up might be a little bit unsavory, and so people were conditioned to not click on these ads, right? And then that's where they introduced, things like quality score and saying, okay, we're going to make sure that people are not necessarily ranking for key phrases that don't relate to their organization. But now it sounds like, based on what you're saying with the AI component, there's such nuance to the key phrases now that people are in some ways actually showing up for phrases that they don't necessarily mean to show up for, and that just still needs to be refined. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that absolutely. Okay. It's that same principle of garbage in, garbage out. You need great input with like your conversion data, which is leads or movements or tours booked, for Google or these language models to understand what they are gonna seek online. So yeah, you can get the visibility, and the visibility is amazing. But when it comes to lead generation, usually we're like in the back burner. So as of now, we're currently testing it because we have a solid tracking on one of our accounts. But to be honest, like we don't know even like how well or how intelligent is like spending budgets. What's the kind of traffic or leads they're bringing in? It's still like a black box. So
can I ask you might be a rough question.
Yeah.
So just love me. But, as AI progresses here, is the human component of these programs going to need to go away? Or like, can AI run this stuff without humans being present for it? What does that look like?
It's such a valid question and interesting, because I do think that it probably will change the way we do our jobs.
Right.
But I don't think the human component is completely like replaceable, especially with the example that I just gave.
I was literally
earlier,
just
like,
thinking that after
that
I
lack
asked
of common sense. Like you need somebody, and again, like prompting itself as a skill, it's not going to take you anywhere if you don't understand like all the context and regulations and how your clients operate.
That's right.
But also, you still need the subject matter expert to like execute a lot of these strategies.
Right.
So you still need somebody who understand Google's backend or your website or how they work together. Probably ChatGPT or one of these, like all of these models, they're scrapping what they found on the internet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a cookie cutter type of like strategy for the senior living industry, for example.
I love what you said there. So the human component is not necessarily about the menial. It's about the critical thinking. It's about the innovation. It's about the creativity and the things that a bot just doesn't have unless we teach it to get to that level, basically. And I'm not sure how they're going to get to the level of creativity and critical thinking and so forth and so on. But above my pay grades, that's fine.
I mean, some
yeah.
tasks might be replaceable or just done faster by pushing just one button.
But
instead
as
of
that
like,
happens, you and your team will basically be able to move faster and be able to innovate quicker and get the ball moving, rolling a little bit faster and so forth and so on. So
oh, absolutely, like faster, even like that faster like pattern recognition or like data analysis. Like if that happens faster, we can optimize faster and probably eventually we'll get results faster. So that's, yeah.
Amazing. So Alejandra, with all the different components of a marketing strategy, you have the digital components, you have your direct mail pieces, you have your over the top or your video components, so forth and so on. The one thing that we really, really heavily focus on when it comes to a marketing strategy is making sure that we're telling the right story and how that story can push out to the masses, and really heavily focus on the client's client being the hero, if that makes sense. So tell me a little bit about the paid media stuff. Tell me about where does the paid media piece fit into that story?
If we're not clear on the messaging that we want to put out there, we're basically throwing money out of the window. So, for example, when somebody is looking for a place for their parents or for themselves, like they're in such a vulnerable situation or position, like the next chapter doesn't have to be, it can be dignified, it can be beautiful, it can be memorable. The fact that they're able to tell those stories, I think it's gonna make a massive difference, because eventually it's not gonna be about keywords, about you prompted this on a chat. It's like, who really understands what is best for me? Who's able to tell me through that story, through that ad, like that video, what's going on in that community? Like, what is that community like? What is the approach? What is how are people feeling in there?
Yeah.
So the more you work on that story, the easier it's gonna be kind of like jump and surf that wave of like AI and all of this, because you already have your story to tell. And in an era of automation and everything's fast and efficient, it's more about what makes you authentic and
Right.
and that's something like, again, I don't think these models can replicate. They cannot mimic that. Like, what makes you authentic, I don't think that's replaceable. And I guess like that's the magic of our industry too.
I love that.